I have seen so many resumes that have their job title and the time frames that they worked there and nothing else. But bruh or sis, like, where did you work at though? What's up, you guys? I am back with another helpful resume video for you all. I am Tamika Thompson. I am the owner and resume writer at Thompson Resume Writing Company. I specialize in transforming bland, lackluster resumes and LinkedIn profiles into powerful selling tools that help corporate mid-level management and executive professionals land interviews 2 times faster. For this video, I am going to be teaching you guys how to properly list your jobs on your resume step by step. Whew. Now, you would think that this section of your resume should be easy, right? How hard can it be? Go ahead and just list your jobs on your resume. You know the jobs you've had. All you got to do is type them out. Easy peasy. Got this in the bag. But surprisingly, as crucial as this section is when it comes to confirming that you're the right fit for the role that you're applying to based on your past experiences, your past job titles, etc., this is actually the section where people make the most mistakes. Some common ones include formatting their job information incorrectly and omitting or forgetting to include important pieces of information altogether. Now, when a recruiter is looking at your work history and your job descriptions and your resume overall, you want to make sure that they're not left guessing, that they don't have any questions, like they're not trying to figure something out or put 2 and 2 together, and that the information that you have in the document is clear, concise, and accurate. So with all of that being said, and without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about how to properly list your jobs on your resume step by step. First things first is to make sure that the jobs that you are including on your resume are not from 10 plus years ago. So any jobs that you've held that's before 2010, you can go ahead and leave them off, or if they are on your current resume, you can take them off completely. The only time where it's acceptable to have jobs on your resume older than 10 years is to show your progression or your advancement into company leadership and executive roles. So this is for my managers, my directors, my senior executives. If you started out at the company or you started out in your career at the bottom, so you were a representative, you were an associate, you were a specialist, and now maybe you're the VP or the global head of, an entire department or an entire division, you want to be able to show that journey up the ladder. So you may want to include those earlier roles so that a recruiter or a hiring manager is able to see that you started at the bottom and you worked your way up and all the different things that you've learned on that journey. Now, this can also be used for people who have been at one company for many years, think 10 plus years or more, 12 plus years, 15 years, whatever, and you have held several different roles within the company and you've grown since you started there. So maybe you began at the company in, let's say 2004, and you were at the very bottom in an entry-level role and you really worked your way up and you served in all these different departments and you've learned all these different things, and now you may be the head of something, or you may be the manager of something or the director of something. You are totally within your rights to go ahead and include those past 10, 12 years of experience because you've been with the same company all of that time. And showing that growth and showing that advancement and showing kind of the way that you've moved around in the company is something that recruiters and hiring managers would want to see, whether you're moving internally or externally. Now, for my career transitioners or my career pivoters, this can be a little tricky. So if you've made a recent career change, and when I say recent, I mean maybe in the past couple of months, upwards to maybe the past 3 to 5 years. If you went ahead and made a career transition, you still may want to include those earlier positions on your resume, just so it makes it clear what you've been doing for the past 7 to 10 years of your career. It's okay to show that you made a pivot. It's okay to show that you made a transition. But again, if you only have 3 to 5 years of work experience, they're going to have some questions about that. So create a separate tab or a separate section for supplemental experience and go ahead and include those earlier positions on there if you must. You don't have to go into too much detail, but you do want to show that you've been working consecutively for the past 10 years or so. Here is an example so that you can see what I mean. Number 2 is to make sure that you are listing your jobs in reverse chronological order. So now that you've figured out which jobs are actually going to go on your resume and which ones that you're going to include and which ones you're going to leave out, now it's time to list them in reverse chronological order, meaning that your most current or your most recent job is going to go first, followed by the ones that you had before that, and so on and so forth. In the past, jobs on resumes were actually listed in chronological order, meaning that the first job that you ever had was the first one on your resume. But don't nobody want to see that. Don't nobody care that you were like bagging the groceries at Jewel Osco back in like 1992. No, if you're an HR manager now, if you're an operations manager now, if you are a marketing manager now, or you are the director of whatever role as it relates to what you're applying to, you want to make sure that that is what you are leading with, not the very first job that you had in your career. If you happen to have some jobs that kind of overlap in time frame, maybe you're working two jobs at once, you can go ahead and sort those based on the date. So if you were working from one job to maybe April until December, but you were also working another job from February to December, you can go ahead and place the February job first and then have the one that you started in April come right after that. And here is an example if you might be confused. Okay, now that we've gotten all of that out of the way, all of that technical stuff, here is the first step that you should take when it comes to actually listing your job on your resume. And that very first step is going to be making sure that your job title comes first. Not the company name, not the date, not the city or the state, your job title. Job title goes first. Job title goes first. And I emphasize that because a lot of people do make that mistake on their resume. They put the company name first, which can be very confusing to a recruiter as they're scanning through the document to figure out what your past positions were. So I reiterate, job title goes first. Listing your job titles first makes it clear what your role is or what your role was. Now, just from scanning your past job titles listed on your resume, a recruiter can easily determine if you are a good fit for the role that they are hiring for and that you're applying to. So if they're hiring for a marketing manager or a brand manager and they see on your resume that you've been a brand manager in the past 4 to 5 times, or you've had past experiences as a brand manager or as a marketing manager, that's naturally going to catch their attention and make them more interested in you. And so that's why you want to make sure that it's clear and concise what your job title was, which is why it needs to be first. Now, there are some things to note when it comes to listing your job titles. So number one is to make sure that you are not improvising and that you are not paraphrasing anything. List your actual job title, meaning the job title that you were given when you were hired onto the company at that time. Number two is to not inflate your title, aka lie. Remember, during the verification process, after they make you an offer, they're going to comb through everything on there and make sure that it's legit. And what you do not want is to come back as a fraud after they've reached out to a former company and find out that your title is not what you said it was. If it comes back that you lied about something or that you are a straight up fraud, please know that they are going to retract that job offer with a quickness. So please do not lie, do not improvise, do not inflate your title, list the actual title. The third thing is that if this job or if the job that you're listing was remote, you can go ahead and put remote in parentheses next to the title. If you have a dual title or you have had a dual title in the past, go ahead and list them both, but be sure to separate them by a comma or a slash. Here are some examples of each so that you understand what I mean. Next, you want to list the company name after you list your job title. I have seen so many resumes that have their job title and the time frames that they worked there and nothing else. But bruh or sis, like, where did you work at though? Like, where was your job at though? When you are listing your company name on your resume, be sure to list the full name or the whole name. This means that if you're working at a company called Little Hearts Incorporated, don't put LHI, don't put LH Inc., because no one is going to know what that means. List every single word that's in the company's name. Unless it's super long, maybe it has 5 or 6 words, then you may want to abbreviate it or you may want to shorten it. And two, if you work for a big brand, be sure to list that brand's name anyway, because not everybody knows all of these companies. There are over like a gazillion businesses and organizations and corporations and companies in this world, and no one is going to know each and every single one of them. Again, you want to make sure that you don't keep them guessing or keep them trying to figure out what this means on your resume. And something to note is that by listing the company name on your resume, that can actually give you bonus points. So if they're looking for somebody who has worked for a leading healthcare provider in the United States, and you just so happen to work for Blue Cross and Blue Shield, or you have worked for maybe Northwestern University, that's important, and you absolutely want to make sure that that name is on your resume, because that can give you brownie points over somebody who may have not worked for a major company like that before. And even if you have worked for a small company or a seemingly non-existent company that nobody has heard of before, you still want to make sure that you're listing that company's name on your resume. Regardless of the company's size and regardless of the annual revenue that it brings in, regardless if you're probably working smack dab in the middle of a small town in Oklahoma that no one has ever heard of and is completely off the map, you want to make sure that you list that company name always. If you are a freelancer or maybe you are a virtual assistant, you can list the name of the person's business that you were working for or that person's name on your resume. All right, so you've told a recruiter what you've done, which is your job title. You've let them know where you've done it, which is your company name. Now you want to tell them the city and the state of where your job was located. So we know that the world is a great big place. We got continents, we got states, we got provinces, we got cities, we got everything. Do not make a recruiter try to play where in the world is Carmen Sandiego, trying to figure out where you work on your resume. This is why you want to include the city and the state. Listing the city and the state of your current and your past jobs gives them an idea of the area or the region where you may reside and lets them know if you are in the vicinity of the company. You don't have to list the full address like the P.O. box number or anything like that. Just go ahead and list the city and the state, and that is it. And the format for listing the city and state on your resume is as follows: city name, comma, state abbreviation. That's it. You don't need to spell out the full spelling of the state, just the city name, comma, and the state. So for my remote people, for the people who are lucky enough to work 100% from home and do not have a commute, you can go ahead and list where the office is headquartered, so the city and state or the area where the office is headquartered, or you can go ahead and list the city and the state or the area where the office where you report to is located. Either or. Here is an example. And last but not least, you want to list the time frame that you worked in that position. So that means the month and year that you started and the month and year that you ended. There are many different ways to list time frames and dates on your resume, and I promise you that I have seen them all, but month and year tends to work best. You do not need to list the exact date, so if you started a position on March 3rd, 2020, you don't need to put 03/03/2020. That is unnecessary. Just go ahead and put 03/2020, and that's all you need to do. And also, you do not have to spell out the entire month name on your resume. If you started a position in October, you don't have to spell out October. We all know what the 10th month of the year is. You can go ahead and just put 10 / whatever the year was that you started the position. And the reason why is because spelling out months can actually waste space on your resume. On top of that, it's really not necessary. So that is how to properly list your jobs on your resume. And remember, when you include all of the information about your jobs up front, recruiters and hiring managers are less likely to have concerns or questions about your background. And if you have a gap in your resume, that is okay too. Just be transparent about it in your cover letter and in the interview. And if you're listing a gap on your resume, be sure to give yourself a title. I did write a blog post, a really good blog post on how to address resume gaps on your resume. If you're interested, I'll go ahead and include the link below for you to be able to check it out. Feel free to reference this video as you begin to prepare or begin to update your resume for your upcoming job search. If you need assistance with your resume, I would be more than happy to help you. Feel free to visit my website at www.thompsonresumes.com. You can also send an email to me directly at hello@thompsonresumes.com. And last but not least, before I officially end this video, I want to encourage you to please subscribe to my Tamika's Career TE newsletter to stay up to date on when I drop a new YouTube video, when I drop a new blog, and also to receive resume, LinkedIn, and career tips and hints straight to your inbox. I'll go ahead and include the link below so that you can sign up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week with another video. Bye, you guys.